Alright guys, let's go ahead and take a look at this video. It's a very, very agitating one called Why I Left the Left. You know, that always leads to fun videos. That always leads to the good stuff, right? Just lots of no hyperbole whatsoever. But first, fan art. We've got the lobbying drip fan art in the back from Riddle of Lightning. This is, of course, when I was actually down at the Capitol. This is exactly how I looked like. I had tiny beady eyes like this, no arms at all. They actually got taken down as part of the election process. I wasn't allowed to have shoes either. So lack of shoes was a very important part of this. Thank you very, very much, Riddle of Lightning, for this. I appreciate any fan art that goes my way, and let's go ahead and take a look at this particular video.
I almost myself because of how debilitating the anxiety and depression had become.
Well, that is unfortunate. I really wish I had something better to say about that, but like, I'm sorry that people were mean to you?
Long I wandered around aimlessly lost, not really knowing why I believed the things I was believing at the time. Hell, for so long I believed that my life was at risk merely just because I was black and gay, and that couldn't be further from the truth. Something that's always bothered me about being black and gay, that I was always told how to think, that because I'm black I have to be a Democrat and I have to stand with Black Lives Matter. Because I'm gay I have to stand with and co-sign everything the LGBTQ community does and claims to be. I've had enough, and like you, I don't like being told how to think, I don't like being told what to do, and I don't like being told how to feel.
So, irrespective of whether or not people were correct, you chose to change your political alignment based entirely on the idea that you really want to be contrarian. Okay. That's kind of stupid, but sure, let's go on.
Past few years have been more than eye-opening, and in this video we're going to discuss why I don't identify myself as a Democrat and the top 5 reasons why I lean more center-right on certain issues. And what sucks the most about these issues that I will talk about is that no one can really be open in their views about this. A lot of people are scared to speak.
Everybody can be open in their views about this. It is 2024. You are on the internet. You are literally speaking about them right the fuck now. There is not a single part of this that in any way, shape, or form looks like you cannot be open about your views.
Speak out on this in fear of being canceled and doxxed, and to some people it's just not worth the risk, and it sucks. But if you want to speak out about this, hell, not even just speaking out, but just in general, you don't want to be doxxed, then I highly recommend you taking a look at today's sponsor, Aura. It is
God, fuck it, really? We're gonna use fear-mongering for our sponsorship? That's what we're doing in the beginning? Okay, sure, why not? Let's just skip ahead, and since you decided to do a plug, we'll do a plug for me instead. Instead, why don't you go to DDLG Playground, use coupon code Suris, and get yourself a plug so you can go fuck yourself. Anyways. Done.
BLM, until I realized that they only care about black lives when it's at the hands of a white man. I used to believe that I would get shot and killed by the police just for being black, until I realized that more people get struck by lightning than black unarmed men get shot by the police.
Okay, so the lightning versus black unarmed men getting shot by the police statistic, I don't think that actually matters in any way, shape, or form. So let's just go ahead and say that those figures are true. What matters is how often black people are targeted by the police compared to how often other people are targeted by the police. And it's not just shooting you have to look at. You have to look at beatings as well. You have to look at every single way in which people can be harmed by the police. Because it's not just guns. Guns are one way it happens, but they are certainly not the only way that it happens. Said brutality as a whole. Yep, you do need to look at brutality as a whole. That will give you accurate numbers, not just shootings. And also, lightning doesn't target people. Yeah, lightning doesn't have a bias. Lightning doesn't give a shit who you are. Lightning doesn't care. What will help you the most is figuring out if you are more likely to be attacked by the police than another demographic group. If the answer is you are more likely to be attacked, then that is what matters. Wholesale. Like, I don't think somebody was telling you you're just going to go get beat by the police all the time. Also, I'm just gonna very quickly look up these numbers myself here. Let's see here. Chances, let's see here. Amount of the police in Let's look in 2023. Why not? Let's just take a look here. Let's see here. Fatal police shootings in the United States seem to be increasing every year, with 1,097 civilians, 225 of which were black, which means that they make up double the amount that they should make up in that particular demographic. Interesting. Very, very interesting on its own. Let's go ahead and see what else we can garner from this particular bit of information. Said air has a lot of resistance, a metal rod has less resistance. True. Said, who is this person? They are... I guess we'll just have to look here real quick instead of continuing the video. Exit full screen. Amir Odam. We've covered their videos before. They are very, very pick-me. Generally speaking. You think you've seen this video before? And you might have. And you might have. Let's see here. So if we say that 225 people were fatally shot by the police in the United States, amount of people struck by lightning 2023. So 13 people were struck and killed by lightning in 2023. Wait, so he's even fucking lying. Even the graphs he brings up are technically wrong. The National Lightning Safety Council announced this week that 13 people were killed by lightning in 2023. Whereas in 2023, dude, bro, 225 people who were black were fatally shot. That's not the amount of people who were shot. So the numbers are hugely off by a significant margin. Man, you can't trust anything these fuckers say in a video, ever. You just can't. This guy's not allowed to resolve this card. I don't want him to resolve this card. Fuck it. He's getting negated.
I also used to believe that America was the most horrible and racist country to be in until I traveled abroad to other countries and realized and understood why so many people try to immigrate here in the first place. Black Lives Matter.
So, wait, hold on. So did you just misconstrue the part where it's not that we are the most racist, the most horrible? It is that we could be a lot better and we have historically not been. Like, that's what it generally is. It is that America as a nation is not as good as it should be when it comes to race and race relations. Okay. We seem to be on a very good start of not actually understanding the point ever. That's cool. I'm glad we're here. I'm super glad we're here. Said, I feel like more people were struck by lightning in Minecraft last week than in the United States last year. Yeah, probably. We're gonna go with no attacks.
Really took my fear of being black to the next level. For so long, I felt that because I was black, I had to just go along with the narrative. I have to be a Democrat. I have to stand with BLM. But that couldn't be further from the truth.
Nobody's saying if you're black, you have to do these things. It is just unwise to be part of a marginalized group and then vote actively against yourself in an election. That's generally what we're talking about. But continue, friend.
You're allowed to come to your own conclusions and think for yourself. I went down to my first BLM rally back in 2017 and I was just taken aback at what I saw. It was my first and last rally. Why is it that when I was bringing up black on black crime or the lack of fathers in the home, all of a sudden I'm deflecting? All of a sudden I'm an Uncle Tom?
Because you are. Then Uncle Tom is a word for somebody who is black and yet is propagating basically propaganda that is used classically against black people. That is an internal word that is used by people in the black community for people who are black and say those things that negatively affect their friends and family who are also black. Like, that's why that word is used. I'm not sure how you didn't get the memo on that, but that's why it's there. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. As for why those statistics don't matter, so black on black crime versus the amount of times that police attack black people or shoot black people, the amount of people who are fatally wounded by police. The reason these numbers are different and the reason the difference in these numbers matter as much as they do is because when we are talking about these things, if you start deflecting, as you claim that people told you that you were doing, which you shouldn't be doing, If you are deflecting and using whataboutism to talk about something that is completely irrelevant to the conversation, it makes perfect sense that people are going to call you out for deflecting. If I'm talking about police brutality against black people and you bring up black on black crime, we are now having a different conversation, which is usually the point of bringing up shit like that, is to try to deflect away from the conversation. These are dumb tactics learned by watching Ben Shapiro and Matt Walsh. So would this guy put his life on the line for anyone like Uncle Tom did?
Coon. Why? I thought this was Black Lives Matter and we're going to talk about all the black lives that are being lost, but that wasn't the case. And then while I was sitting there, I'm like, why are they going towards the interstate and marching and blocking traffic? What does this have to do with anyone that's merely just going about their day?
Because that's how you raise awareness. That's what raising awareness is for. That's how you do it. You put yourself in a situation where while it does inconvenience several people, it does force people to engage with what you are doing and saying and meaning and feeling. Like that's why they're doing that. That's how that works. But okay. So dude wants to ignore the purpose of a protest. Yeah, the purpose of a protest is to raise awareness. It's not so like, if you're talking about straight up activism, where you go and say, hey, the problem is at this factory, so we're going to send a bunch of people to this factory to fuck up the people at the factory, then I could understand you being a little confused when this isn't that. But again, the point of a protest is simply to raise awareness. So what happens? People get blocked in traffic, which sucks. I agree with that. But when people get blocked in traffic, they start asking themselves, well, why are these people protesting? What do they feel so important about? Why are they inconveniencing my day? And then when you start having to answer those questions, suddenly it becomes a lot easier to understand why people are blocking that traffic in the first place. So blocking the highway there on the northbound side, meaning the cops are blocking the northbound and southbound lanes. I feel like that's a technicality. He's probably just using B-roll here to begin with.
What does this have to do with anybody or an ambulance that's behind that can't get to the hospital now because you sit here blocking traffic because you think you're oppressed for being a black man in America?
I like how every single time they bring up the ambulance, like the ambulance is not able to make it for one reason or another. And I've never understood this one, because I feel like for this one to work, we need to have an adequate amount of times that an ambulance has been blocked by protesters. And I don't know if we actually have those numbers. Let's see here. Let's see here real quick. How often have protesters blocked ambulances? Oh boy, this is the first thing we find is a thing titled The Myth of the Blocked Ambulance. That's such a good way to start this. Let's see here. It said the blocked ambulance thing is a trope, and it is apparently a myth. A Freedom of Information request answered by the London Ambulance Service, so this is in Britain specifically, stated that during the October 2021 protests, there were no reports of any incidents noted under the category transport delays, and there were no delays noted in the duty incidents either. Okay, so at least in London, there were no situations with that happening. On Quora, there's a thing that says that, yes, it is probable that a protest will get blocked. That's also not the same thing as it happening. This is interesting. Okay, so what I'm trying to find is instances of this happening, so I know that we should be wary of this and be upset that this is happening. But I'm not finding that. What I seem to be finding instead are more and more hypotheticals of a situation that doesn't tend to happen. And if it does happen, it happens at such a rare amount of time that it's not really tracked in any way that matters. That's weird. Huh. Also, it happens to be that when an ambulance is on its way to a location, they tend to have live topographical data of where they're going. So you're generally not blocking an ambulance. You're generally blocking one route an ambulance might have taken, and then they just take a different route. Usually. Said it happened in the UK November 8th last year. So we have at least one instance of that happening. And the article I was looking at was from 2022, so that makes sense. Oh, we have on r/human beings one that says protesters making way for an ambulance. Interesting. So I don't think, generally speaking, the protesters will not, you know, make way for said ambulance. It's more likely that they will just make way for that ambulance to go and do its thing. Maybe you can prove me wrong on that, but I'm not seeing mass instances of this happening. I'm just seeing this as a hypothetical that's brought up every single time, and I'm not seeing anything about that being the case. Okay. Well, that's good to know. I'm glad to know that we're in not reality territory. That's my favorite territory to be in, mind you. Is when we are not actually in the territory of reality anymore. Said they diverted to a different hospital. Oh, so even in the situation you're bringing up, it didn't fucking matter. Okay, cool. Man, this is absolutely thrilling that the information that I'm being fed here from this person is false, and I just blocked incorrectly. So now I'm dead. Man, that's cool.
Child, it turned me off so much. It was the liberal media, Democrats, BLM telling me that white supremacy is a threat to black people in America, and I'm sorry, it's just not. When was the last time a black person's life has been affected by someone in a white hood?
When was the last time a black person's life was affected by someone in a white hood? Let's see here. That's very, very specific. But let's go ahead and just take a look here. Let's see. October 19th, 2023. That's geographic education. The Ku Klux Klan used terrorists and violence against people. I feel so embarrassed for this dude selling his dignity. Yup. I also wonder if he understands that, like, the type of violence or the type of way that violence will be used by the Klan differs based on what era they're in and how... Oh, this is interesting. Disturbing photos of the modern-day Ku Klux Klan. American neo-Nazi rally at Pennsylvania's Valley Forge Park in September 2004. The Unite the Right rally. Actually, you know what? The Unite the Right rally, that would have been an instance where people in the KKK directly caused deaths recently. But, you know, okay. I was waiting for the video to come. Said, hey, guy, that's not how hate groups work in the modern day. The unseen fascists wear suits and ties now. Yeah, generally speaking, it is more effective to sow bigotry and enact policy that will disenfranchise people than it is to outright harm them in the modern day where people have smartphones. But okay.
The Klansman is the least of my worries here in America. BLM...
Well, so, you know that BLM wasn't talking about just Klansmen, right? They were also talking about the, I don't know, the police. You know, those who burn crosses, also work forces. You know, those guys.
Wanted me to believe that white people are damaging black lives, but I don't see how.
Did you take time to educate yourself on how that's happening? Did you take time to look at the statistics of redlining and how long that's caused generational wealth to not be able to build up in black communities? Have you looked at the different ways that gerrymandering has been used to disenfranchise black voters? Have you looked at the ways that district lines have been redrawn in such a way and voting locations have been changed in areas that have higher densities of disabled black people to lower the likelihood that they will be able to vote as well? Did you look into any of those situations, maybe? Just a smidge? Did you happen to see the higher rate of violence that happens to black people from the police compared to white people from the police? Did that one happen to just cross your mind, tickle your fancy at all? Like any of that information, did any of that register to you? Did any of that... Did you use any of that information ever at all to figure anything out, make a decision? I don't know, maybe learn anything about the situation? Or are you just trying to make a quick buck on the internet by being the token black guy that the right can look at and say, oh, well, look, we're not racist. Look at this person in our ranks. They're definitely not a white Klansman. They're a black person who's gay.
2020, it wasn't the KKK that was out here shutting down streets. It was black people. It wasn't the KKK.
Well, yeah, why were they shutting down the streets, though? So you can't just go, oh, shutting down streets bad, the black people did a bad thing. That's fucking stupid. I've got a bunch of crayons and slurs to describe to you how stupid that is, but my audience wouldn't appreciate me using ableistic language. So instead, I will simply say, my guy, you understand that a protest for the purpose of trying to generate some good is different than a hate group, right? You understand that, right? I hope so.
KK out here burning down and looting black-owned businesses. It was black people.
So, burning down and looting black-owned businesses. There are a couple of instances during the BLM protests where we actually saw that there were agent provocateurs that were responsible for shit like that happening. It's very hard to find exact information on that. As Old Gus is saying in the chat, hate groups don't exactly come out today and attack and discriminate against people and openly say it's because they're LGBT. They instead falsely accuse them of crimes they haven't committed, like, say, grooming children, for instance. So there will always be opportunists taking advantage of the chaos. Yep. And the color of the opportunist's skin taking advantage of the chaos will not change the fact that they are an opportunist taking advantage of said chaos. That is just how that works. Does that mean that those groups are bad on the whole, or should we start looking at the individual people in those groups that are causing issues? One of these is probably a much more accurate way to figure this shit out. Also, I remember there being this whole ordeal where a protest would be planned for an area, and then a pile of bricks would be found near the protest, or in and around the area, and nobody would take any responsibility for the towing of those bricks at all to the location that those bricks were in. And so people were trying to figure out where the fuck did these bricks come from, and we later realized, oh, wait, hold on, this is probably just people who are trying to get people to engage in violence in an area where emotions are already put high. Generally. That I wish people weren't so gullible in today's age? You would hope. You would certainly hope. But it turns out people are stupid. People are very, very stupid. They can be tricked with a billion different methods. And what do I take here? Do I take the... I guess I take the metal worker because it can block. I just have to win the race with him, right?
It wasn't the KKK that killed 91% of black people that year. It was other black people. At some point, black people have to take a step back and stop playing the victim for these situations and take accountability for how we act and how our culture promotes certain things.
Wait, hold on. Let's try that again.
At some point, that killed 91% of black people that year. It was other black people.
Okay, so again, we're not talking about how many people died of disease versus how many people died of this, that, and the other. That's not really the conversation that needs to be happening. The conversation that needs to happen is how many times did these deaths occur as the direct result of police violence. That's what BLM is about. What you're doing is effectively trying to obfuscate. You are whataboutisming. Well, 91% of black people died from these things. Right. You're 100% correct. And yet, what you're effectively doing is just pivoting us away from the conversation that everybody was already having. The conversation that was being had was about police violence being enacted against black people. That is what the conversation was. When you start pivoting the conversation far and away from that conversation, you are just engaging in whataboutism. You are engaging in in tu quoque. That's it. Or the et tu fallacy, sorry. Yeah, the goal is not stopping all death. The goal is recognizing when some of these deaths are vastly unwarranted and need to be, it is a problem that needs to be fixed.
Some point.
Said his stats are blatantly false too? Well, yeah, we already saw that earlier in the video, but I'm not going to find every stat he does and point out that it's false when he's already lied in the beginning of the video.
Black people have to take a step back and stop playing the victim for these situations and take accountability for how we act and how our culture promotes certain things. We need to examine how we're impacting our own environment and not how white people have anything to do with this, because they don't, okay? Maybe
they don't have anything to do with this except for the myriad of ways in which white people do have shit to do with it. The myriad of ways in which people in power, who, this is not about white versus black, mind you. I'm falling into the trap by using the words he's saying, but everybody who was listening to people who were talking about Black Lives Matter or had gone to BLM protests, every single one of those people can tell you that the conversation not once ever was that white people need to stop doing this. It is that police officers, white, black, Hispanic, Asian, no matter what the fuck they were, there was a systemic problem with police officers on the whole harming black people. And trying to ignore that doesn't make any fucking sense to me. I can't for the life of me figure out why that information is currently being obfuscated in this video. Said, hey, black people, you know how you stop getting killed? Maybe instead of asking people not to kill you, you should start thinking about why you're getting killed. Smells like, did you see what she was wearing? Yeah, no. This guy, and all says no accountability, I see. What the fuck are you talking about? What the fuck are you talking about? In which ways are the black population of the United States the ones accountable for being grossly misrepresented in police statistics of violence on them? Razor says, I don't know, Suris. We are of what skin tone, and we can see this problem, and we are saying we know this is going on. We are blind. I don't know what... Razor, maybe try with a not malformed series of sentences. Because I have no idea what you're meaning there. Without tone, that none of what you just said makes any sense. But I'm still trying to figure out what Aldape 0415, so a literal name bunch of numbers, is saying when they say no accountability, I see.
They did in the past. There are some horrible things that we've done to black people in America, but listen, it is 2024. There's nothing that I can do that some white person can't. We can't change what happened to us, but we can always change going forward, and that's what I'm focused on. I'm focused on being the change going forward, taking what we have and building on that, but we can't do that when all we're doing is...
Wait, but we're not talking about the past anymore. Wait, did this guy not actually listen to what anybody was saying during BLM? Because again, during the BLM protests, the conversation never ever even once was, hey, this is what white people did 100 years ago. So the guy said it isn't a white person problem, and here's a white person saying we know this is a problem, our privilege causes. I'm willing to accept what he's saying about white people and saying it's not a white person problem. I'm willing to do that. I'm willing to meet him on his exact terms and then use that to point out, hey, buddy, stop being a fucking idiot. Stop basically lying. That's not how this conversation has ever gone. The BLM protests were not about white cops killing black people. They were about cops killing black people. The conversation was so far divorced from that particular racial conversation he's trying to have that it's fucking comical. It's comical as hell.
Focusing on the past and just thinking that we can't get certain things because the white man's above us, the white man's oppressing people in America. No, we're past that and we're beyond that. We can be and do anything we want to be as a black person in America, and I don't hear Democrats promoting that message. They always want to talk about...
They do promote that message, though. You can't do this. They always want to talk about something when they're talking about multiple things all the fucking time.
Promoting black voices this, black voices that, but it's never, we'll get into this later, but it's never for the merit. It's never for what that black person is doing. At this point, it's merely just because they're black. But as a black man in America, I do not stay.
I don't remember that actually fucking happening. I don't remember somebody saying we should listen to the things these people are saying because they're black. That sounds like kind of sort of a little bit like a fucking lie.
And with nor support or condone the Black Lives Matter organization, because what have they done for black people? Yeah, they raised nearly $100 million. Yeah, they bought like 3 mansions, but what have they done for the black community? What did donating to...
So what did BLM actually do? Let's go ahead and see here. Let's go ahead and take a look. Let's see what stuff they actually did. They normalized the filming of black pain at the hands of individuals sworn to treat everyone equally. Without personal video, we may not have collectively known about George Floyd, Freddie Gray, Eric Garner, Sandra Bland, or Corrine Gaines. So raising awareness is, in fact, a thing. It is, in fact, a good thing. But let's see here. Let's see. What else do we have here? This comes from Brookings.edu. Black Lives Matter actually managed to shift public opinion. For example, a 2017 Pew study found that 54% of white people viewed officer-involved shootings involving black people to be signs of a broader problem. The fact that over 50% of white people think that policing has racial issues is, in fact, itself a huge achievement. This attitudinal shift created a policy window for local, state, and federal changes to policing and the criminal justice system. Also, apologies, but had to burp. Black Lives Matter helped usher in a series of policy organizational changes to policing that include implicit bias trainings, body-worn cameras, and bans on no-knock warrants. You know, the same no-knock warrants that actually led directly to the deaths of people. Yeah, the BLM protests raising awareness on this directly caused those changes to happen. They helped illuminate the inordinate amount of money spent on policing and civilian payouts for police brutality that come out of taxpayer pockets. So that's another thing that we have to talk about when we're having this conversation. BLM, literally just by raising awareness functionally, managed to make it to where policies had to be changed over and over and over again for the direct benefit of civilians. Let's see here. What else do we have here? Black Lives Matter helped simulate federal oversight for problematic cities such as Ferguson, Louisville, Baltimore, or stimulate federal oversight for problematic cities such as Ferguson, Louisville, Baltimore, and Minneapolis. They altered data collection efforts in the academy, police departments, and the federal government to better assess what law enforcement policies do and do not work to reduce racial biases. Black Lives Matter also galvanized a new crop of elected officials and political actors, which is, again, not a nothing thing. And BLM is etched in yellow paint on the street outside the White House. That one can be considered one way or the other. You take your pick. Don't really care how you decide to work with that. So, what have they done? A lot. The idea, the point from the get-go was raise awareness for issues that needed to be solved. And what did BLM do? Raise awareness for issues that needed to be solved.
Black Lives Matter. What did marching, what did posting that black square do for black Americans here?
Everything that I just said.
In America. Please tell me, what did they do?
I just gave you 8 of them.
What did they solve? Where's the solution that came from all that? BLM pushed me away from liberals for this very reason. And
because you refuse to do research? That's quite literally, sir, that is an issue of the skill variety. In every way, shape, and form, that is an issue of the skill variety. You can solve that problem by having more of that skill. Actual time spent researching. It took me 0 time to figure that shit out. It took me a Google search and going to an EDU website where I knew that things weren't going to be super biased when I went there. That's all it took. Just a wee tiny little bit of time. Maybe spend a little bit of time and you will figure this shit out much easier. It's not difficult.
I was looking to the right and over here talking about all lives matter, but when you sit back and think about it, we got Black Lives Matter, Asian Lives Matter, Hispanic Lives Matter, Indigenous Lives Matter, Ukraine Lives Matter, Palestine Lives Matter. Like, it's apparent that all lives matter. Again, BLM.
Okay, so you have to ask yourself, why were those particular things talked about? Why were we saying Black Lives Matter? Why was that the case? Well, it wasn't because all lives matter or not. It's not that Black Lives Matter more than any others. It's that there were literal areas of policing. If it was kit creature control game, still on return, that's fine. It was because there were literal areas of policing where there was a ton of oversight, and it was at the direct detriment to the black community. And so when you say all lives matter, what does that accomplish? You get to virtue signal like an SJW snowflake. That's what all lives matter is. That statement in every way, shape, and form is just virtue signaling. It is in every possible way the exact thing that the right has historically accused the left of doing over and over and over again. And yet, it is exactly what you are doing. You are virtue signaling. Now, when you say Black Lives Matter, what you are doing is you are pointing out a problem that needs a solution. You are pointing out something that needs to be solved, that needs to be fixed. When you do All Lives Matter, you are doing none of that. You are simply telling everybody what a goodest good boy you are and hoping that somebody will give you a gold star and a treat. And I hope my disdain is maybe just a little apparent through here. Maybe just a smidge.
And with the constant lies that my life is under attack by the police force in America, and that's just not true. There's no data to suggest that I need to be ducking and hiding from police. Why?
There is no data to suggest it. Not even a little bit, except for the literal fucking data that suggests that. Weird. You can find entire news articles going over the data on this, and it takes you only a little bit of time. That's so weird. That's so weird. Oh, what about this one from a healthdata.org? More than half of police killings in the United States are unreported, and black Americans are the most likely to experience fatal police violence? God, that's so fucking weird. That's so strange. My God. How did that happen? How did that information get in there? How did all of this literal, easy to access info on the internet make it onto my monitor screen? How did all of the statistics for this, how were they so easy to access? Why was I able to immediately go find on an actual non-commercial website information on this at the drop of a hat? God, it's so weird. It's so strange. Yes, you're right, Sylvie Snow. You have to actively be an idiot who can't Google or has to ignore reality, or Instead, you have to be a 203,000 subscriber channel who builds their entire persona.
Hey guys, my name is Amir Odom.
Their entire persona on virtue signaling to the right. That is literally all his channel is virtue signaling about what a goodest good boy he is to right-wing dipshits. It is the saddest existence one can possibly have. Said Paige Shill, who expects his followers to not do any research? Yeah, you did the... You learned from Steven Crowder to flash very, very quickly a little thing on the screen that looks kind of, sort of, like it's an actual source that needs to be paid attention to, and then when somebody actually takes the time to look at your sources, they find that you're basically being a massive goddamn liar. He said he's still ignoring reality whether he's virtue signaling or not. Well, yes, actually, obviously, he's ignoring reality. It's just also cringe that he is ignoring reality while also how woke cartoons are brainwashing our youth. Maybe I should do a video on that one. Why is Gen Z so gay? This is not okay. Why Gen Z and Alpha are making teachers quit. Man, I can't wait to go through these obviously incredibly well-researched videos that will have lots of just good, juicy information for me to sink my teeth into in the coming weeks. Meanwhile, I want to fucking shoot myself. Insert end of video tagline here. Hey, I just quickly want to give a thank you to all of my wonderful patrons who keep this show running. YouTube and Twitch are a pretty bumpy ride at the best of times, and the stability a Patreon provides me is worth more than I can say here. I'd also like to thank each and every one of my $20 and up patrons here, and they would be Red Joker, Britzkrieg, Cameron, Dren, Jemshin, Smiling DM, Poundini, Mabbity Babbity, Naomi, Isaac, Nixie-chan, the Oberon team, Agamotto, Jordan, Ravi, Giuni, Kiratorian, Prisma, all of you, I'm not saying that part, and Starlight. And finally, thank you to everyone else that helps keep this channel alive. While you're here, why not check out another video? And thank you for watching.